The time to repent is over. It's also time for you to stop dying to Vortiger, the Black Prior. This extended guide is going to walk you through his entire moveset and how you can deal with it. He's no doubt a strong character, but he's not infallible. Let's get right into it. So your experience with Black Prior probably looks something like this. A lot of shield bash lights, a lot of empty dodges in the GB, and the occasional delayed shield bash for good measure. Now, what if I told you these options can be avoided with a single dodge timing similar to how you deal with Conk, but even more effective surprisingly? So let's break that down. If you react to the Vortiger's forward dodge with the side dodge of your own, you'll be able to avoid the instant bash timing and the empty dodge into GB. You'll have time to counter guard break. Now you're probably thinking, the Vortiger can just delay his shield bash just like Conk does to catch those early dodges. But it's actually not the case. The Vortiger tracking on his shield bash is way worse, so you'll actually avoid that too by using this timing. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't some one trick that's going to make you magically beat Vortiger every time you come across him. It actually requires a fair bit of focus and practice to be able to react to that forward dodge consistently. But the main thing is if you can force the Vortiger to use the other parts of his kit instead of just a shield bash, you're at an advantage. And we're actually going to go over some of those other parts of his kit right now. On its own, the zone attack really isn't all that scary. It's 700 MS and a pretty easy dodge from neutral. But the only caveat is that he can follow it up with a light attack or a heavy attack on whiff, which is different from his other shield bashes, so you just gotta be prepared when you do avoid it. Now you might see a lot more of these if you're consistently dodging those forward shield bashes like we're going over earlier. But there is one situation where you're really gonna have to watch out for the zone attack. I regret to inform you, my friends, that there's actually a counter to that single dodge timing, and that is if he decides to forward dodge into the zone attack. Now that will catch the early dodge. I waited this long to tell you that because this is actually a win for you if you can look at it in a more positive light, because that's a lot of stamina consumption from the dude consistently in order to get damage on you with an opener. So if you're constantly dodging that forward shield bash and making him do this, I think the duel is probably going in your favor, but it's still quite hard to deal with this. This is actually the most potent mix-up from his forward dodge, in my opinion. So this is going to require a little bit of reading on your part, seeing what the pattern is. Is he still going for that shield bash a lot, or is he forcing you to go for that early dodge so you can keep getting that zone? Now remember, this is the training mode, so that stamina consumption isn't accurate. It costs a lot of stamina to be able to do that zone consistently. So if that's what you have to make this Black Prior do to beat you, then I think you're going to be okay. Since we started the video with bashes, might as well go through the rest of them. This is the heavy soft feint bash. It has kind of like a running animation, so pretty obvious. It can cover a pretty decent distance and still hit you, but it's pretty easy to dodge. The only situation you get a hit with this is if you maybe dodge early on the heavy for some reason, or you're just kind of asleep at the wheel. And this is one of the few bashes that you can actually punish with a GB if you dodge it, and it can only come from a heavy starter. He can't soft feint a heavy finisher, so just keep an eye out. Now this bash variation is much more threatening. It is the light opener chained into a shield bash. Now the keyword here is light opener, so the light attack either needs to hit you from neutral for him to be able to chain into the bash, or he can do it on your block if you're out of stamina, or if he's in revenge on block as well. Now you can also do it from a crushing counter off the light attack, but all of those variations can be dodged despite what it might feel like. There's a lot of lazy Vortigers out there, so they're going to be trying to do this to you constantly. The most obvious way to stop this is to block as many neutral light attacks as possible. They're always 500 MS, and Vortiger can't delay his chains that much. There's not that much variable timing, so the point in which he needs to either commit to a bash or a chain finisher comes pretty soon. And just remember, Vortiger's heavies are all undodgeable from all directions, so don't get too jumpy trying to avoid the shield bash. If the opposing Vortiger is decent, he will mix in some heavy finishers to keep you honest. This next device is super obvious, but I really want to stress it. You need to be keeping these Black Priors honest with constant GBs, whether that's just heavy feinting into GB, peppering them with GBs from neutral, and especially if you have an unblockable, you need to be feinting into GB often. That way they can't just sit there and fish for the bulwark counter, because you know these Vortigers are going to do that. Now, the full block can be flowed into pretty fast, and the time between a full block into bulwark counter is near instant. Remember, Vortiger can cancel the recovery of any light attack or heavy attack into the full block, and the bulwark counter can come soon after that. So the constant GBs will keep them honest, and if you're a character that relies on heavying into the opponent's guard in order to get into like a fast light attack or into some sort of mix-up, then I really warn against that, because Black Prior actually has the frame advantage in those situations, because he can flow into a full block off of blocking an opposing heavy pretty seamlessly. So a lot of GBs, can't stress it enough. The only other option the Vortiger has from his full block is this unblockable heavy that you see here. It always comes from the left guard and it can be feinted. Now, it doesn't have the greatest GB invulnerability, so you don't have to worry about it stuffing your GB attempts unless you attempt to GB super late in the animation. Now, it can track early dodges, and I recommend just kind of standing your ground with this one. The feint into GB animation isn't that subtle. It's kind of like a little bit of hesitation before the GB comes out. So just kind of get used to the timing and don't let this throw you off your game. And also just keep in mind that the Unblockable is technically a chain starter, so it can be followed up with a light finisher or a heavy finisher. Alright fam, we're coming towards the end of the video. This is just going to be some general advice about spacing. Vortiger really struggles closing down opponents, so if you really want to get under their skin and force them to make some mistakes due to their impatience, this is your best bet. Some back dodging, maybe some unlocking and backing up a little bit and relocking, that sort of thing. Just so you guys know, some behind the scenes, I basically told my sparring partner here to just try and catch me, whether with shield bashes or GBs. Obviously I wasn't attacking him, so in a real duel setting this would be a little bit more in my favor. But as you see here, I'm avoiding a lot of his offense. It takes him a lot of stamina to eventually catch me. Remember that delayed shield bash has some pretty bad tracking, so don't rely on the back dodge too much. Remember, the back dodge has a lot more recovery than a side dodge, but in terms of keeping your spacing, trying to make the Black Prior close you down is usually a good tactic. By the way, I know I'm switching between Vortiger and Black Prior. To me, he's Vortiger, but I know some of you guys out there are strictly BP. I respect it. I just think Vortiger is a better name, personally. So sorry for the constant Vortiger in the video. But as you see here, the shield bashes whiff a lot. Keeping my spacing is really hard for him to close down. By the time I recover, I'm able to counter guard break. Now, he does catch me a lot, so obviously you shouldn't be playing this defensive, but this is kind of a way to demonstrate for you. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys. I hope you found this video helpful. Vortiger, Black Prior, whatever, still a strong character, there's no doubt about it. The recovery on his shield bash is still outrageous. He's hard to punish, but not unbeatable. I want to give a special thanks to my man Gosh the Starve for being my training dummy here. He's got a sexy Black Prior. I'm going to leave a link to his Instagram below. And you can also hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, and I stream pretty regularly on Twitch. If you want to come hang out, I play on PS4 primarily. And that's all I got. See you for the next video, guys. Much love. Peace out.